water around here ends up in Puget Sound, and whatever's in that water, like thousands of gallons of yard chemicals. So let's get together and help save the Sound, because Puget Sound starts here.
We all feel the pain at the pump.
Aw, man!
Idling more than 10 seconds harms your engine and wastes gas. Cut the waste. Cut the pollution. Let's be idle-free, 253. Learn more at tpchd.org/idlefree253.
Good afternoon. I would like to call to order the Pierce County Council for February 4th, 2025. The time is 3:01. If the clerk could please call the roll.
Councilmember Ayala. Here. Councilmember Krueger. Here. Councilmember Denson. Here. Councilmember Herrera.
Here.
Councilmember Yambe.
Here.
Councilmember Morrell.
Excused?
Councilmember Hitchin.
Here.
You have 6 members present.
And with 6 members present, we do have a quorum. Today's moment of silence as we lead into section 3 of our agenda is in honor of the 67 lives lost in the midair collision between American Airlines flight and an Army helicopter last Wednesday in Washington, D.C. Our hearts are with the loved ones of the victims, and I'm going to ask that you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag led by Councilmember Ayala, followed by a moment of silence dedicated to those lives lost in the D.C. plane crash last week, and then the land acknowledgement read by Councilmember Ayala. Please rise if you can for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We acknowledge that we are on the traditional homelands of the Coast Salish tribes. Coast Salish people have lived on and stewarded these lands since time immemorial and continue to do so today. We recognize that this land acknowledgement is one small step toward true allyship, and we commit to uplifting the voices, experiences, and histories of the indigenous people of this land.
Thank you. That brings us to section 4 of our agenda, which is approving our agenda. Is there any item or changes to our regular agenda? Seeing none, we'll consider the council agenda approved. There will be multiple opportunities for public comment. On the consent agenda today, you may provide comment on any final action item. This does not include items placed on the consent agenda for introduction or scheduling. On today's consent agenda, there is 1 set of minutes for approval, 3 appointment resolutions for final action, 2 grants for approval, and a motion to authorize payment for dues to the Washington State Association of Counties. During section 9 of the agenda, we will take public comment on each ordinance individually. And finally, under community forum, there'll be an opportunity to address the council on any topic that is not up for final action today. For information on the rules for public participation, please review the bottom of page 1 on today's agenda. That brings us to section 5, which is our consent agenda. Does any member wish to pull an item from the consent agenda?
Chair, I move approval of consent agenda as amended, moving items C2A to section 8.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the consent agenda as presented, moving item C2A to section 8. Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we do that. We are going to now open this up to public comment. If anyone would like to speak on an item on the consent agenda, please come to the podium to address the council. You will have 3 minutes. And please say your name for the record.
My name is Carl Hicks. And Chair Hitchin, members of the council, thank you so much for considering me for reappointment to the Tacoma Narrows Airport Advisory Commission. I'm excited at the prospect after having recently been elected the chair of that commission. If I may, I'd like to share just a few thoughts, so first of all, about this gem of a facility that we have at Tacoma Narrows and my depth of commitment in serving Executive Mello, you, and our fellow citizens. First, one of my favorite quotes: "A mile of highway will get you just 1 mile. A mile of runway will get you any place in the world." Ask Elton John, who leaves his home in England and flies directly here to our area and lands at Tacoma Narrows Airport after visiting Puget Sound and flies directly back home. Or you could ask Taylor Swift, who flies here from California, Kansas City, Kansas City and back. Anyway, we have hundreds and hundreds of business people coming in and out of our community through Tacoma Narrows Airport annually. We house many businesses out there, to include 2 of the top flight schools in the region, training hundreds of thousands of pilots over the past 30 or 40 years. We have annually over 100,000 operations, which means takeoffs and landings at Tacoma Narrows Airport. And according to Washington State Department of Transportation's own published study in 2020, many tens of millions of dollars flow directly into Pierce County in our community because of that airport out there, according to WSDOT. Many of you don't realize that there's also many other things that make that airport important. Medical. Daily, we have medevac aircraft flying in and out of there. I saw a helicopter coming in just this morning as I arrived. Any time of the day, you can see a helicopter or a Learjet flying up there, and 2 doctors get out with a cooler and run to an ambulance and get in it and go. Guess what's in the cooler? It's an organ for somebody who's receiving that in our community. And I can tell you something personally about that, folks. In May of 2006, I watched my daughter fly out of there in a Learjet directly to Stanford University Medical Center for a heart and a lung transplant. That's what we've got out there at Tacoma Narrows Airport. And yet, with all these positives, we've got some negatives and some challenges as well. Years of deferred maintenance caused the hangar doors to fall in, endangering people and equipment. All the hangar roofs leak. We've got personal and organizational turbulence. And the tower, do any of us know if it's adequately staffed? Because we have helicopters, Blackhawks, and jets flying out of there nightly. So many other challenges. We've got air shows. We used to have them up until 2022. We haven't had one since that time. Everybody in our community would like to see that happen. So many challenges, and I want to help. I've got 50 years of aviation experience, 26 years as a tenant at Tacoma Narrows Airport, 35 years as a resident of Pierce County, 3 thriving businesses in Pierce County, 25 years of military discipline. I feel like I've got the background and certainly have the desire to help. Thank you in advance for your vote.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else in chambers that would like to speak? Seeing none, we'll go online.
For any member of the public that would like to provide comment on any final action item on today's consent agenda, please press the raise hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your telephone keypad. There are none at this time, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We'll close the public comment on the consent agenda and bring it back before the council. Any further comments before we vote? Councilmember Denson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Oh, Mr. Hicks, don't leave. Carl, come back in. I'm about to say some nice things about you. Well, first, I will say that it looks like you connected with Councilmember Herrera because you have the Army in common. Mr. Hicks did not mention that he's a U.S. Army Ranger veteran, and his story is amazing if you ever have a chance to hear it about how he practiced a lot of perseverance and determination to go into the Army and to do the type of service that he felt he was called to do for his country. So I want to thank him for that. You can see how passionate Mr. Hicks is about the Tacoma Narrows Airport. That came through loud and clear, and I have been so grateful to get to know Mr. Hicks in his role there. I think we met when he gave my son a ride. Well, I think we met before, but we really got to know each other during Airport Day a couple of years ago when he gave my son a ride in his airplane as part of Airport Day. During Airport Day, all youth can come out and get a free ride with one of our amazing pilots. That's one of the many services. So Mr. Hicks is passionate about making sure that our airport is providing really high quality services to the community, not only in Gig Harbor and the Key Peninsula, but all around the region. As he mentioned, these medevac flights are something that we do a lot of and that save lives and extend lives of others. It's so important. He's also passionate about expanding the horizons of youth to the fields of aviation. And in addition to leading the Young Eagles program, he's really been a champion for Airport Day, which is a free day. Airport shows are great, but Airport Day is free for the community. Folks can come out, they can talk to pilots, they can get a ride in an airplane if they're a young person. They can visit the booths of our school district. We have a new aviation academy just starting out there. So there is a lot of really, really community-focused things happening. Mr. Hicks mentioned some of the challenges at our airport, and I know one of our colleagues, Councilmember Morrell, isn't here, but he's very familiar with the challenges of our airports because he oversees, or he's very involved in the one at Thun Field. But I will tell you that Mr. Hicks comes with solutions. He doesn't just talk about the problems. He is responsible for a bill that was introduced into the legislature. He found the right champion, the right sponsor for that bill, which, if it makes its way through the legislature, will give counties, all counties, not just Pierce County, some flexibility in the use of our REIT funding. So it's a choice, and it doesn't raise taxes, or it's not new money. It gives the county an opportunity so that if we get grant funds, for example, to do upgrades or maintenance or anything that we need to do at our airports, we can use that funding as match if we don't have enough funding in our enterprise funds, which is typically the case. So I want to thank Mr. Hicks for sticking with the Tacoma Narrows Airport Commission and for being a leader. It is probably our most popular commission. We never have openings on that commission. It's a great group of people, and it's going to be even better now that it has a brand new president. So thank you, Mr. Hicks. And I urge everyone to support the consent agenda and to support this reappointment.
Thank you for those comments. We don't typically do this for consent agendas, but we're going to go to Councilmember Krueger.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know how much more that can be said, but I've never met you. And I have to say I was somewhat inspired listening to you talk about the airport, because I'm next to Thun Field, and I know Councilmember Morrell has been very involved in trying to get the REIT tax to do more there. And you just prompted more ideas on how more special the airports are to the county and how much more valuable. And I'm thinking of how they're doing a skill center for the Marine down there, and there should be more education going on with flying. A constituent I recently lost who was a lifelong flyer, and I just marvel at those who have the temerity to look at all those instruments and the responsibility that goes with that one wrong thing, and that it's a big deal. And I just really appreciate all of the enthusiasm that you're bringing, and that the more work that can be done in expanding that, because I think that's a key option in being able to generate revenue to do more good things for the public. And I appreciate that, and thank you for stepping up. I have a hard time. I've got some folks in my district that I need to fill the Thun Field commission, and it's hard. I'm like, what is it over in Gig Harbor that makes it more fun? Is it the water? And why doesn't Elton John and why don't they come to Thun Field? And Taylor, yeah. She's not my, anyway. But yeah, they need to come to Pierce County, or the other side of Pierce. So anyway, thank you for what you're doing. Appreciate that.
Thank you for those comments. Thank you, Mr. Hicks. We're going to vote, but I'm anticipating full support since it's on the consent agenda, but thank you for your time. Appreciate you, and safe travels to your next, I think you're being pointed to something else, so you seem very busy, so thank you. Okay, before us is the consent agenda as amended, which was removing C2A to Section 8. We will come back to that piece of legislation. We're going to do a roll call vote on this item.
Councilmember Denson.
Aye.
Councilmember Herrera.
Aye.
Councilmember Krueger.
Aye.
Councilmember Ayala.
Aye.
Councilmember Yambe.
Aye.
Councilmember Hitchin.
Aye.
The results of the roll call vote is 6 ayes and 0 nays.
With 6 ayes and 0 nays, the consent agenda is adopted. That brings us to, let me turn the multiple pages, to messages from the executive, which there are none this afternoon. So we will go to proclamations, recognitions, and awards and presentations. And we have one proclamation before us today. Today, the council proudly proclaims that February 2025 is Black History Month in Pierce County. And I'd like to invite the following recipients to the podium as Councilmember Denson reads this proclamation. So you'll come to the podium here. We're looking for Jackie Jones Hook from the Executive Director from the Tacoma Buffalo Soldiers Museum, Commander Reverend Robert L. Watson from the State Commander of Washington State Command Council, Lyle Qasim, the President of the Black Collective, and Shanna Lawson, a member of the Black Collective Associated Director of Alumni Relations for the University of Washington, Tacoma, and anyone else that wants to stand with them, but those were the people that we had here this afternoon to officially receive and speak. Councilmember Denson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Whereas since 1976, the United States has celebrated Black History Month in February to recognize and honor the profound contributions, achievements, and resilience of Black Americans throughout our nation's history. And whereas Black history is an integral part of American history, encompassing the struggle for freedom and equality, the pursuit of excellence in arts, science, education, public service, and countless other fields, and the enduring legacy of courage, leadership, and determination that continues to inspire us all. Whereas the theme for Black History Month 2025, African Americans and Labor, focuses on the various and profound ways that work intersects with the collective experiences of Black people. And whereas work has been central to much of Black history and culture, from the agricultural labor of enslaved Africans to debates among Black educators on vocational training, from self-help strategies and entrepreneurship in Black communities to organized labor's role in combating economic and social injustice. Everywhere we look, Black people's work has transformed societies across the nation. And whereas 295 Black-owned businesses have been supported by the Pierce County Community Navigator Program, and 164 Black-owned businesses participated in the Business Accelerator Program and have received approximately 533 hours of business coaching and over $590,000 of professional business services grants. And 63% of participants have raised a total of over $2 million in new capital. And whereas Pierce County is home to the Black Collective, an organization established in the aftermath of Tacoma's civil rights struggles in the 1960s. This volunteer leadership organization addresses issues affecting the Black community in Tacoma and Pierce County. And whereas the Black Collective was founded by leaders like Harold Moss, who was also the first Black Pierce County Council member in 1996 and chair from 2002 to 2004, and has been instrumental in improving educational outcomes and advocating for social justice and economic development for Black individuals and communities. And whereas Black leaders throughout our nation's history, such as Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Bayard Rustin, Thurgood Marshall, Fannie Lou Hamer, Rosa Parks, Langston Hughes, John Lewis, and many others have worked tirelessly to create a more fair, just, and equitable society. And whereas we honor the contributions of Black residents who have enriched our community through their leadership, service, and cultural contributions. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed on this 4th day of February 2025 by the Pierce County Council and Executive that we hereby designate February 2025 as Black History Month in Pierce County, Washington, and call upon all community members to reflect on the significant achievements of Black Americans.
Thank you, Councilmember Denson. I'll let you decide who would like to speak first, and then Shanna is online, so we'll make sure we don't forget her.
To the council, thank you on behalf of the Buffalo Soldiers Museum. We certainly appreciate being recognized for Black History Month, and as you know, Blacks in the military go down through the years, and the military always brings in a lot of revenue and hires the most employees. So on behalf of Blacks who have served through the years and even today, we say thank you for recognizing Black History Month.
My name is Lyle Quasim, and I have the good fortune to chair the Tacoma Pierce County Black Collective. Thank you for the very kind words that you said about the Black Collective, Madam Chair. Thank you and the council for this recognition. This is the 11th year at the Black Collective where we have had a feature, and we have featured this year blacks in the military. But we're always concerned about blacks in the labor movement. And we thank you for focusing on the labor movement. We have a significant economic development committee within the Black Collective, which focuses on business and labor. And I'm proud to be with the folks from the Buffalo Soldiers Museum, because, again, that is our feature this year, Blacks in the Military. Thank you all for what you have done for this community, and thank the staff also for what they have done.
Thank you. Any?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Commander Reverend Robert L. Watson, Jr. I'm the commander for the National Association of Black Veterans. As had already been said, black veterans here in the United States have done a lot for this country, more especially through all of the wars. A lot of the wars would not have been won if it had not been for the black veterans stepping up and helping in all the different wars that we've been in, from first all the way up through now. This is the time and place now that we all need to come together, right now. Because as I look across here in front of me with the council members here, this is the United States of America right here. Not just one color and one people. This is the United States of America here. And what I ask is that you all continue to support the black organizations that are here behind me and are with me, and continue to uphold them. And in doing that, we will continue to uphold you also. Mr. Paul Herrera, thank you once again for your invitation. I appreciate it. God bless you. God bless you. Godspeed to each one of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Shanna, did you want to speak online? You can unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great. I just wanted to thank the council members for having this recognition. I want to start it with a quote. If you know from whence you came, there is no limit to where you can go. That's James Baldwin. To me, Black History Month is a time to learn about the history of black people in the United States, but it's a month and time to celebrate the progress we have made and the work that is still yet to be done, and we do need to do this all together. It's a way to honor the people who have contributed and made sacrifices, and that's where I'll leave it. We truly appreciate it, particularly veterans in America and the history of the military, especially where we're at now. So I would just like to say thank you to everyone, and thank you to Lyle and Mr. Watson and everyone who showed up, Buffalo Soldiers Museum. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. I'm going to see if anyone else wanted to speak before I turn to my colleagues to see if they have comments. Okay. We'll start with Vice Chair Herrera.
Thank you, Chair. It's good to have you here today. I think I've said this before, but Black history is American history. And it's always good to talk about it so people will know who they are, what they are, and where they came from. We often gain strength by standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. And knowing those three things can help us gain strength to do good in our communities. Just you being here is a testament of your activity in your communities and how you fill in the gaps that this dais is missing. You are the voice of the boots on the ground of the community, so it's really good to have folks like you who are out in the community who are that voice, so we can get things right, get it right up here. So again, Black history is American history. It's military. It's the workforce. It's so many things. And it's a good time to be alive today. Like folks have said, there's a lot of work to do, and a lot of work has been done. We've come a long way. So let's be proud of the victories and have the strength to move forward to get more. So with that, thank you for being here, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair Herrera. Councilmember Yambe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, everyone, for being here and helping us recognize Black History Month, which, like my colleague said, Black history is American history. I wouldn't have had this opportunity if it weren't for people like Harold Moss and Rosa Franklin and people who before I even ran for my first office, I reached out to, because knowing that the experiences that they had could provide lessons for people who are trying to navigate systems that weren't built for them. And so, in many ways, they helped open doors for not only Black community, but everyone who comes after. And just like Black people in this country have always been doing, is bearing burdens for other people and trying to do whatever we can to make this country a more just place. And Lyle, you do that work, and you've done that work for many years. And so it's just a reminder, and I think one of the lessons is that yes, we've come a long way, like my colleague has said, but reminders that the work never ends. The work that you do to address injustice is an everyday thing that is never over. And in fact, it's a charge to all of us in now that have we learned the lessons that we learned from our history, and are we doing enough to make sure that the systems are more equal? And so thank you for being a reminder of the important work that we have done and that we have to do to make this country more fair and equitable. And thank you for being here.
Thank you for those comments. We are going to go to Councilmember Ayala.
Thank you, Chair. I'll keep my comments short. It cannot be said enough that Black history is American history, and we need to say that time and time again. I, first of all, want to express my debt of gratitude for everything that you have done for the community and celebrate that. I think we often get stuck in the recognitions, but really the celebratory aspects of how that is radiating out into community, and whatever way that we can support to augment that message that you are putting out to community, please let us know. I have to say that the many spaces that I've been a part of, I can't really compare. It's an apples and oranges thing, but I deeply appreciate everything that you have done for our young people, to our veterans, to our businesses, to literally everything that makes Pierce County function. Big thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Councilmember Krueger.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say how invigorating the role models that you are up here with what you have to offer and that you are sharing. I really appreciate that. And then it made me think, especially with military and a meeting I had gone to and listening to the speaker, she was speaking about Crispus Attucks. Yes. Speaking of, heroes and whatnot. So he was the first person to die for the American Revolution. He heard the call and he was the first one out, and he died on the Boston Massacre, March 5, 1770. And then Mercy Otis Warren, she wrote Shakespearean style, and her writings were digging at the British. And just, there's so much that can be told in history and very inspiring. And I just want to thank you for being here to carry that on, that we all have things to learn. And appreciate you and being here. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for those comments. And I will close with my deepest gratitude for the work you do every day and for making sure that, as I think every one of us has said, Black history is American history. You make sure that it is alive and well and remembered, and work within our community to make sure that it is remembered. I think for me, it's not getting lost in all the things that are going on. It's Black History Month. Center yourself on what we have available here to learn, learn about the history of people who have made Pierce County better, who have left legacies behind that have improved the way that we work together to improve the lives of Black people that live here and call Pierce County home. And you make sure that we don't lose that focus. You make sure that those memories live on, and you remind us when we're not quite going the right way, which I appreciate, and please encourage you all to keep doing that. Our website has a variety of different activities going on across the county, so if you are a community member and want to know where you can learn about, go to the Buffalo Museum, different events in different jurisdictions. We've collected them. You can just look up Pierce County Black History and find that website, and we're just trying to collect them. And if you don't see your event on there, please reach out. We can see about getting things added. So thank you all for being here. We're going to invite you to come up and take a picture with us and send you. Okay. So thank you all for being here. We are going to get back to our regular agenda, which is we're going to go to the item we pulled off of the consent agenda. So we're on section 8, and I will look to Councilmember Denson for a motion to R 2025-103. It's page 3 of 8 if you're looking for it.
Thank you, Chair. I move proposal number R 2025-103.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Will the clerk please read?
Proposal number R 2025-103, a resolution of the Pierce County Council confirming the appointment of City of Fircrest Council Member Hunter T. George to the Central Puget Sound Regional Transit Authority Board.
Thank you. Mr. George, if you would like to introduce yourself and say why you would like to serve on this board.
Certainly. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the council. I'm Hunter George. I'm here in my capacity as a member of the Fircrest City Council. For those of you who know me, you may realize my voice sounds a lot different. I came down with a cold last night, and so I thought I would spare you all that and participate remotely, so I appreciate that opportunity, and I promise to be brief. I want to thank Executive Mello for nominating me. This is a big assignment, and it's a big honor, and I'm excited for it, and I thank you for considering this nomination. I am, for those of you who don't know this about me, I know many of you, this is my 14th year on the Fircrest City Council, and it's been a lot of fun to work on local issues and then to immediately see the results of that work, and I know that's something you all appreciate too. I have significant experience working regionally. I was proud to be one of the founding members of SHAPE, invited by then Executive Dameyer, then Councilmember Ladenburg. At that time, I was mayor of Fircrest and started out as a roundtable and led to this formal organization. And I served as the first vice chair, and then I became chair in the second year. And it was a lot of fun. Got to meet a lot of really great people around the county. I've been facilitating the Joint Municipal Action Committee meetings and agendas for, since 2021. Again, a body that thinks regionally. And then going back a decade, my previous day job, I worked for Pierce County, and I was really proud to be on the project team that assessed our 911 systems around the county and came up with South Sound 911. I still think to this day that's the most important thing I've ever worked on. And truly regional, lots and lots of regional partners on that. So I have experience with policy, budgeting, operations, and capital development. Obviously nothing on the scale like what Sound Transit does. And that's why I'm excited. I'm excited to learn. I know I'll learn a lot, and I appreciate the opportunity to join Executive Mello, Mayor Roscoe, and Councilmember Walker in representing Pierce County and ensuring that Pierce County gets the assets that it's been promised over several transit elections. So excited to do that, and I appreciate your time and happy to take any questions.
Well, thank you for making time to be here virtually and keeping the germs at home. We will open this up for a public hearing, and I'm going to invite any members of the public to provide comment on Resolution 2025-103. Please state your name if you'd like it on the record, and you'll have 3 minutes. Is there anyone in chambers that would like to speak? Seeing none, we'll go online. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Please. I'll turn this over to Mr. Dominique. You do this so well.
For any member that would like to provide comment on proposal number R 2025-103, please press the raise hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your telephone keypad. There are no hands at this time, Madam Chair.
With no hands raised, we'll close public comment, and I will see if there are any further comments from my colleagues on this proposal. Councilmember Denson.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank Mr. George for stepping up and taking on this big role. It is a very high-profile organization, high-profile board, and we need folks that are going to take it seriously and dig into the information and ask the right questions. And I know Mr. George, because he serves and has served in a number of different positions, serving the public, whether it's Fircrest City Council or mayor, and he works for Metro Parks, and he's involved in JLARC and SHAPE, and he's just an outstanding public servant. He understands from a number of different perspectives the issues in our community. He knows how important transportation is, and I feel very confident that with his leadership, this board will be served well, and we will be served well here in Pierce County. So thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Councilmember Ayala.
Thank you so much, Chair. Councilmember Denson took a lot of the comments I was planning on. I do enthusiastically I am in awe of Councilmember George, and I have to say he failed to mention this, has a journalistic background, which also gives me a sense of confidence that the right questions will be asked and that there will be, in that space, and that there will be a good representation from this region on that board.
Thank you for those comments. Councilmember Yambe.
Not trying to dogpile, but as somebody who came from the municipal spaces myself and have encountered Councilmember George at many different regional committees and like Rainier Communications and different boards, he gets really into the details and really is someone that you go to who knows what he's talking about and the subjects that he's really into. And so I always appreciate having a voice of knowledge, and I think that is great. So I support this.
Thank you for those comments. Well, we are approving Resolution 2025-103. That is the motion to approve. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Denson. Aye. Councilmember Herrera.
Aye.
Councilmember Yambe.
Aye.
Councilmember Ayala.
Aye.
Councilmember Cooper.
Aye.
Councilmember Hitchin.
Aye.
The result of the roll call vote is 6 ayes and 0 nays.
With 6 ayes and 0 nays, the motion is adopted. Thank you very much, Mr. George. I hope your cold goes away quickly. Okay. That brings us to section 9, which is ordinances. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. And we have two ordinances on the agenda today. We have proposal O 2024-572. Can Councilmember Coover please provide a motion?
Thank you, Chair. I would like to move for approval. For approval, yeah. Duh. Proposal O 2024-572.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve O 2024-572. Can the clerk please read?
Proposal number O 2024-572, an ordinance of the Pierce County Council amending Chapter 4.20 of the Pierce County Code, property tax, expanding the time period for requesting a reduction due to manifest error in the property description, making technical revisions for consistency with state law, and setting an effective date.
Thank you. And we're going to look to Ms. Long to give us a briefing on what we're voting on today. Ms. Long.
All right, thank you, and good afternoon. So as stated in the title, Proposal O 2024-572 would amend Chapter 420 of the County Code. This is entitled Property Tax, to allow refunds or reductions for manifest errors to be processed up to 5 years after the due date of the payment to be refunded or reduced. The proposal also makes some technical revisions for consistency with state law and practice. So Chapter 4.20 of the County Code sets forth the assessor treasurer's duties relating to the assessment of taxable real and personal property in Pierce County, as well as the procedures for requesting reductions as allowed by state law. RCW 8469-020 allows property taxes to be refunded for various reasons. There's probably a laundry list of maybe 11 reasons listed in statute. For some examples would be where taxes were paid more than once, if they were paid as a result of certain clerical errors, if they were paid under levies or statutes adjudicated to be illegal or unconstitutional, or paid as a result of a manifest error in the description of the property. Now, manifest errors are errors in the stated attributes of property, such as a mistake in the square footage of a building or a lot, or in the number of rooms in a building. Manifest errors result in improperly assessed property valuation and subsequent erroneous payment of property taxes. Claims for reductions or refunds for the grounds listed in the statute that I referred to earlier must be filed with the assessor treasurer within 3 years after the due date of the payment sought to be reduced or refunded. There was a change in statute in 2019 at RCW 8469-030 that provides that a county legislative authority
may authorize a refund or reduction to be processed more than 3 years after the payment due date if the refund or reduction arises from taxes paid as a result of manifest error in a description of property. So out of that long laundry list of reasons that taxes could be refunded or repaid, the only one that the statute authorizes the legislative authority to change and authorize more than 3 years is the manifest error. So just to be really clear on the statutory authority there. So proposed changes to Chapter 420 in the proposal before you would authorize the assessor treasurer to process requests for refunds or reductions of taxes paid as a result of manifest errors in the description of property up to 5 years after the due date of the payment to be refunded or reduced. And it also includes some technical changes as well. So I did work, we started working on this proposal late like in the fall of last year. And so I did work a lot with the previous assessor treasurer. And some of the information contained in my staff report is that submitted from him. Although we had, during rules, the assessor did testify and present a PowerPoint presentation to the committee consistent with all the information that we had provided to you in the staff report and earlier in the year. So there is a table in my staff report, and it was also contained in the assessor's PowerPoint in a much more colorful manner, an interesting manner. But it just gives examples of some value adjustments that have been made from 2020 through 2024 for both commercial and residential real property. And so you can see generally the value reductions, that's not the taxes paid, but value reductions, so that's going to be a larger number. What that boils down to in terms of dollars for the county is, on average, the refunded tax was about $300,000 per year. So if we're adding on 2 additional years to the 3 years, the impact to the county, if everything else is the same, would be about a total of $600,000 in refunded taxes for errors in the description of the property. And these are mostly pointed out by the property owners, but the assessor does also catch some of these as well and can initiate those changes in the department itself. So this was heard by the Rules and Operations Committee and received a due pass recommendation. I mentioned the dollar amount for fiscal impact. We did discuss briefly the impact on existing staff within the assessor's office, and I hope he's here and can correct me if I'm wrong, but there would be additional time to his staff to review those extra 2 years if that was requested by a taxpayer, but not to such a significant degree that it would even require additional FTEs. So a little bit more time on staff, but doable, no changes in their computer applications or anything that they use to calculate those. And there is one amendment.
Thank you for the overview and bringing this forward, Councilmember Krueger. I know that Assessor Treasurer Campbell was online, so if you would like to speak, or you could, we can move you over as a panelist if you had anything to add before we take up the amendment. There you are.
Hello, Chair.
Hello.
Thank you very much. I was transitioning, so I didn't hear everything that you said, but you appear to be paused and waiting. Just thank you very much for considering this, and I gave a presentation on rules and happy to answer any questions that may be here today. Thank you. I think Ms. Long did an excellent job framing it out for you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here in case there are questions. Any questions for the Assessor Treasurer before we take up the amendment? Seeing none. Councilmember Krueger, would you like to move your amendment?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move Amendment 1.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve Council Amendment number 1. Ms. Long, can you please explain the amendment?
Yes, thank you. So this is actually suggested by the assessor. What this does is simply remove the proposed technical amendments from the ordinance. So it would strike that phrase, making technical revisions in the title, and it would remove all the sections of Exhibit A, leaving only the proposed new Article 3 related to manifest error.
Okay.
And what this would do too, the reasoning behind it was, being a newly elected assessor, he and his staff are going to do a more comprehensive review of their policies and procedures, and perhaps come back with a more robust proposal to revise any provisions in code that they deem necessary. So
we will most likely see these in the future.
We may, yes.
Okay. Okay. Councilmember Yambe. Okay.
Got trigger happy.
Is there any other discussion on Council Amendment number 1? Okay. All those in favor of adopting Council Amendment number 1, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Amendment has been adopted. That brings us to our public hearing on this. Anyone who would like to address the council on O 2024-572 as amended, please come to the podium or get ready on Zoom. You will have 3 minutes, and if you would like your name on the record, please say it. Is there anyone in chambers wanting to speak on this proposal? Seeing none, Mr. Dominique, if you can queue up Zoom.
For any member of the, for any member of the public that'd like to provide comment on proposal number O 2024-572, please press the raise hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your telephone keypad. No hands at this time, Madam Chair.
Seeing no hands raised, we will close public comment and bring it back before the full council. The motion is to approve O 2024-572, and we have Councilmember Krueger.
Thank you, Chair, and I very much appreciate the consideration of this ordinance, and I want to thank Assessor Campbell for being here. I didn't see her name up there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have my phone a friend if I needed help on this. Because basically this came forward because of a constituent request who had found out that he had been assessed for many years. And the way government works, my original sense of it was like nothing's going to happen. And then understanding that the legislature made it legal to go back further, it opened up some other doors. And then learning that King County goes back 5 years, and having spoken with the prior assessor, it was starting to come together. And I feel that's part of our job description and standing for our constituents and helping them out. This is money that we wouldn't know that it was missing had it not been incorrectly assessed. And so I very much appreciate the opportunity to bring this forward and for the help I have had from the assessor's office. And I will appreciate a due pass from the council. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for those comments. Any Councilmember Yambe, is this for real?
I will say, Mr. Assessor Treasurer, you are getting jumping into the work and doing a very good job at dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And so I thank you to your office for being very diligent in this. I will echo my colleague in saying that, this is money, the monies that, the roles, it's important that we're accurate and that we are, our own roles are, accurate, but also that people's hard-earned money gets to be spent in the ways that they want it to on this. And so I appreciate the efforts of the Assessor Treasurer, and I appreciate Councilmember Krueger for supporting this and bringing it forward. So thanks a lot.
Thank you for that. Seeing no one else wishing to speak, the motion before us is to approve O 2024-572 as amended. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Ayala.
Aye.
Councilmember Yambe.
Aye.
Councilmember Herrera.
Aye.
Councilmember Krueger.
Aye.
Councilmember Denson.
Aye.
Councilmember Hitchin.
Aye.
The result of the roll call vote is 6 ayes and 0 nays.
With 6 ayes and 0 nays, the motion is adopted. Thank you, everybody. We are now on item number 2, which is Proposal O 2024-573. Councilmember Kruger for a motion.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move ordinance O 2024-573S for approval. Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve O 2024-573S. Can the clerk please read?
Proposal number O 2024-573S, an ordinance of the Pierce County Council amending section 17C.60.230 of the Pierce County Code, fireworks, by amending the application process for a permit to sell fireworks, amending the criteria for the issuance of a temporary order prohibiting the discharge of consumer fireworks, and extending the hours when sales and purchases are permitted, and setting an effective date.
Thank you for that. We're going to go to Ms. Kelly for an introduction, and then we do have Ken Rice here to give us an overview from his area, but we'll start with Ms. Kelly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Andrea Kelly, Council staff. So the proposal before you begins on page 62 of your electronic packet. A brief notation is that this proposal is administrative in nature and it has no impact on discharge of fireworks, of consumer or display fireworks in unincorporated Pierce County. By way of background regarding amending the application process for a permit to sell fireworks, pursuant to RCW, current Pierce County Code establishes the regulations related to the allowable fireworks sales of consumer fireworks in unincorporated Pierce County as a subsection of the International Fire Code. Current code contains an 8-week annual permit application window for the 2 allowed retail sales seasons for consumer fireworks. This proposal seeks to create a 3-month permit application window for each holiday season from January 15th to April 15th for the following 4th of July and from August 15th to November 15th for the following New Year's holiday. The proposed amended language also gives priority to prior year permit holders if there are more applications than available permits for a holiday season. Prior to being issued, retail fireworks sales permit applications are reviewed by the Department of Emergency Management, Risk Management, and Planning and Public Works. In 2024, the Department of Emergency Management Fire Prevention Bureau staff spent approximately 219 hours processing, reviewing, and issuing permits and inspecting 37 retail fireworks stands. The current permitting application window resulted in staff having to prioritize fireworks retail sales permit applications over review of other Fire Prevention Bureau permit applications. This amendment will allow for timely review of permit applications and resolution time for application errors. Regarding amending the criteria to issue a temporary ban on the discharge of consumer fireworks, current Pierce County Code requires that the fire marshal deploy staff with evaluative equipment to determine fuel moisture content in different areas of the county prior to consultation with the executive to issue a temporary order prohibiting the discharge of fireworks. The proposed language will simplify this process, allowing the Fire Prevention Bureau to follow the National Weather Service red flag warning as the justification for a temporary order. Regarding extending the hours of retail sales of consumer fireworks, RCW 7077-395 establishes the maximum dates and times for which consumer fireworks may be sold or discharged and allows local governments to limit and prohibit sale or discharge of fireworks. Local code mirrors RCW for which consumer fireworks may be sold for the 4th of July holiday. The proposal would expand the retail sales hours for consumer fireworks for the New Year's holiday by 1 hour from noon till 9 p.m. as opposed to 8 p.m. As this is more restrictive than state law pursuant to RCW 77-254, amendments to the Pierce County Code shall not become effective until 1 year after adoption. All other proposed amendments in this proposal would follow regular process of going into effect following approval. The proposal additionally includes technical amendments for continuity in accordance with the proposed changes to the code. The Department of Emergency Management, as you indicated, is here, Fire Marshal Ken Rice, who can speak further and about updates, internal efficiencies and updates from within the department. And I don't believe I said this, does recommend approval. So that concludes my staff report. There are 2 amendments, and happy to report on those.
Thank you, Chair. Councilmember Krueger, would you like the presentation before or after the amendments? Or no, Councilmember Denson's amendments, I believe, actually. That doesn't.
Let's do the amendments first.
Okay. So we will go to, and I lost my amendments. Councilmember Denson.
Thank you, Chair. I move that we approve amendment number 1.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that we approve Council Amendment number 1 to O 2024-573S. Ms. Kelly, if you could brief.
Certainly. So after the proposal received a do pass as substitute recommendation out of Rules and Operations on January 27th, there was further conversation with fire chiefs, local fire chiefs, and feedback was an additional resource to determine the issuance of the temporary order on prohibiting the discharge of consumer fireworks. The amendment reflects that in addition to the issuance of a red flag warning, that in either or that Pierce County can also use the Northwest Interagency Coordination Center's significant fire potential assessment. Apologies for the long title there. That is separated out into four different categories. It's a 7-day significant fire potential assessment. It's updated daily, and that is into 4 sections of low, moderate, elevated, and high risk. So this amendment has been reviewed and supported by the department as well.
Thank you for that. Councilmember Denson, did you want to speak to your amendment?
Yeah, just real quickly, thank you to council for considering this. This, as Ms. Kelly said, just adds this additional resource, and this resource was given to me by the Gig Harbor Fire Department chief, who consulted with his wildlands team, and this apparently is an entity through the National Interagency Fire Center where wildland firefighters in fire districts go frequently. One of their resources that they use to determine what the fire risk is in a community. So I think this will be helpful to have as an and or a double check, especially when the difficult decision has to be made. And I did consult with Fire Marshal Rice, and he was fine with this. So I hope that you will support this.
Thank you. We'll go to Vice Chair Herrera.
Thank you, Chair. Just had a question on what is a red flag warning? And the second question would be, would either of these two conflict with each other? One saying we don't have a red flag warning, and then another one says we have an elevated or high one. Which one do we pick? Is there any, could there be potential conflictions of what right looks like? I don't know if you can answer that. I guess we can start with a red flag warning, what that means, and then also what elevated means and high risk means, or if they're all the same.
That was a lot of questions. We'll see how Mr. Rice does. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, members of council, thank you for having me here. I almost said good morning, but good evening, good afternoon. The red flag warning is produced by the National Weather Service, and I think the 3 criteria, that the main ones they use, 15% or less relative humidity, elevated above normal temperatures, and then wind gusts, sustained winds 20 to 25 miles an hour, I believe. I don't think there's any conflict between them and the coordination center. They work hand in hand. And I did just a little snippet of their mission statement, the Northwest Interagency Coordination Center. So they serve as a geographical focal point to provide logistical support and intelligence relative to ongoing and anticipated wildfire activity. So the two are going to complement each other. And which one we would pick, we would really want to sit down. And the reason those two are in there is it's scientific, unbiased. The other thing had us going into the field with equipment, deploying staff, and not really telling us where to go, or we kind of knew what to look for. So I'd rather use an unbiased scientific method to determine whether we're going to continue to discharge fireworks at any given time, or maybe even parts of the county.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for the question. We're going to go to Councilmember Krueger.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the opportunity on this. I had not heard of this agency before. And to me, it doesn't matter one way or the other. I'm just kind of, I'm more for less paperwork, and I wouldn't want to have any confusion. Well, do we call this? Or, I mean, now I got to check with this and check with that. I like streamlining things, but it's not enough to really say no to, so I'll support the amendment.
Thank you for the comments. Councilmember Ayala.
Thank you, Chair. You had mentioned that the assessment of this is based on humidity and wind. Is that correct?
The red flag warning.
The red flag warning. This is me not knowing anything about it. Would it be possible that a red flag warning would be issued in parts of Pierce County and not other parts?
Yes. Yeah, sometimes it affects the higher elevations or the lowlands. So there's certain areas, if those conditions could exist with a red flag warning, but not affect the entire county.
And how are those parts fragmented or determined?
Well, it's going to be determined on those criteria by the National Weather Service, whether the humidity, the wind, and the temperature elevations, and they're going to change whether we're in the lowlands, maybe up on the mountain, that type of stuff.
Got it. But there's not a pre-scripted geographical?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the questions. Councilmember Krueger.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to think the equipment that is used using the red flag is going to be far more effective and correct than what you would get going out on your own checking things. Would
Absolutely.
that be correct? Thank you.
Thank you for all the questions, and thank you for fielding answers. We do have amendment number 1 before us. Any further questions? All those in favor of adopting Council Amendment number 1 to O 2024-573S, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Yambay, did you have something?
No, I have that habit of.
Okay, you're good. Thank you. Before us, I know, we're getting there, everybody. We have before us Council Amendment number 2. Councilmember Denson.
Thank you, Chair. I move Council Amendment number 2.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that we approve Council Amendment number 2. Ms. Kelly to brief.
Thank you. Amendment number 2 removes the proposed language expanding the retail sales hours and reverts to the original retail sales hours for the New Year's holiday being noon to 8 p.m. between December 27th and December 31st. The amendment also reflects edits for continuity, as the only component of the original proposal that was subject to that 1-year waiting period was this expansion of hours. It does remove from the title the setting an effective date and Section 2, which set that effective date.
Thank you for the overview. Councilmember Denson, there you are.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for that description, Ms. Kelly. We talked a little bit earlier about our duty to stand up for our constituents, and while my constituents don't all feel the same on this issue or any issue, I get a lot of concerned emails, calls, outreach about fireworks. There is concern about wildfire, and that's been triggered even more so with the recent wildfires down in LA and before in Malibu, and of course we have them here every year. I get concerns about noise impacts, particularly on pets and wildlife. I get concerns about noise for people with PTSD or anxiety, concerns about litter and environmental impacts. So for me, given the way the folks that I hear from most feel, I just can't support expansion of fireworks in any form. I'm not suggesting we go back or more limited in hours, but I feel like 8 o'clock is plenty late, especially in unincorporated Pierce County. I feel like the council members, and I probably should have looked into this, the council members who set the 8 o'clock hour, did so for a logical reason. I think that's plenty late into the evening, and I feel like we should just stick with that. I just cannot be supportive of expanding the hours another hour. So that's where I'm at on this one, and I hope you will support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Councilmember Krueger.
Thank you, Chair, and I will speak against the amendment. I'm failing to see the nexus of adding a few more hours of sales. And I want to point out that this is only adding 1 hour to each of the 5 days that are allowed to sell fireworks for New Year's, not for the 4th of July. This is specific to New Year's. Currently, we're 15 hours under the allowed amount of time at the state level. This adds 5 hours, so they're still short 10 hours of selling time. And advocating for those who are business members and for those who want to do fireworks, and these are legal fireworks, not the ones that are scaring the animals so much and creating the havoc. Those are not within our jurisdiction, because I too get lots of calls and emails from families or residents where their animals have been scared and they run into fences. Yeah, I understand, and we aren't going to solve that here, but denying our constituents and business people, 5 more hours to sell the inventory of legal business, legal items, I think we're doing a disservice, and I would ask for a no vote on this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for the comments. Vice Chair Herrera.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm also going to speak not in favor of this in the perspective of a lot of people who use selling fireworks. Those folks are often nonprofits, and they all have restricted ways of making money through the year. And for some nonprofits, this is the one time where they can make money. And adding 60 minutes a day for the allotted time here, I think, isn't going to hurt anybody. Again, folks who are going to buy fireworks are going to get them one way or another. They're either going to do it at the legal approved facility or other means that we all know about, and this isn't nothing about the time of when we light them off. This is just the hours of selling fireworks. So I appreciate the amendment and the concerns and listening to the constituents, because this is a topic that people pay attention to. But I will be in on this. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you for the comments. Any further comments? I will just say I worked on this legislation several years ago, to the point of I remember the debate and the conversation when we were discussing this on the 8 o'clock versus the 11 o'clock. And really the reason I navigated and came to this conclusion around 8 o'clock was just how dark it is when people are leaving these fireworks stands in the evening in our community. And so it really was for me about the safety of a lot of times youth who are running them, family members, community members, nonprofit agencies, and then the public buying them. And while I do know that we have many nonprofit organizations who truly do depend on fireworks, which is a whole nother conversation, that participate in that, I do not see a reason to change the time now. I think one of the things to think about would be to see if we really are seeing a decline in sales, or maybe in the summer, are there more sales between 8 and 9, and then maybe there's a reason to do it. But at this time, I haven't seen any evidence that says that adding the 1 hour will improve their sales. So I will not be supporting the amendment, but I do appreciate this. And we have more lights. So we will go first to Councilmember Yambe.
Also coming from the municipal field and a city that, bans it, but on, reservation we allow, various degrees. And just looking at how I haven't seen and heard the convincing arguments to say that an hour is going to help as much. But I would be, willing to later on down the line saying, hey, this isn't working and this is harming nonprofits and other businesses, and then reevaluating. But I think currently I support the amendment. But I would not, I think that we should give it a try and then see later on that if it's having an adverse impact, I'd be open to having that conversation down the line. But right now, I'm not convinced yet.
Thank you for those comments. Councilmember Krueger.
Thank you, Chair, and I can appreciate your comments, and I understand that. However, the request came from someone who sells, and for them to have that extra time to sell more, whereas they can go over to Thurston and buy until probably 11. They can go over to Kitsap. They can probably go hit Federal Way, King County. Maybe not. I don't know about there. But I don't think it's proper for us to be judge and jury on a person's business and their ability to make funds and deplete their inventory for 5 hours. And I don't think that was asking for much from the constituent who is in the business of selling. And for any of the nonprofits, who are we to deny them that opportunity? So that's, I think that's fair. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for those comments. Any further comments? Councilmember Ayala.
Thank you, Chair. I think my comments are less about this and more about the data that it's driving some of this decision. I'd be interested in learning more about summer sales versus winter sales and the history of what that looks like. My presumption is that if this were to pass and there was reason to roll this back in the future, that would be an opportunity. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
We can change our code.
Yeah. All right. That was it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for the comments. Any furthers? I'm afraid to ask it. Okay. All those in favor of approving and adopting Council Amendment Number 2, say aye. 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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Councilmember Krueger.
Thank you. Chair, I was looking at thinking we were doing something else. I am a nay.
Okay, thank you. That makes more sense as to what I heard.
I was listening to you and I'm like going, oh, what this is my first in 4 years. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So what I heard was 4 to 2. Is there any question on that? Do I need to call for another vote?
Division.
Do we need division?
I'll ask for division.
Okay, if you ask for division, that's what we do. Ms. Persons.
Councilmember Krueger.
Nay.
Councilmember Ayala.
Aye.
Councilmember Yombe.
Aye.
Councilmember Denson. Aye. Councilmember Herrera.
Nay.
Councilmember Hitchin.
Aye.
The results of the roll call vote is 4 ayes and 2 nays.
Okay, with 4 ayes and 2 nays, the amendment passes. We now have before us the amended item, and we do have a presentation from our chief. I'm never sure. I just want to call you Chief. So, Chief Rice. Okay, there we go. So we're going to cue that up over here, and if you just say next slide, Mr. Dominique will move the slides along.
We're going up here?
We're working on it.
Okay.
There are many things that happen on that computer at the same time, so there we go.
All right, next slide. So I went through this without the PowerPoint presentation at the Rules Committee, so I wanted to throw together a little one just to kind of touch base so we can get through the main talking points. There's an RCW that limits us to $100 for a retail fireworks stand permit. That's it. So that's all we can charge. Next slide. So I think it was mentioned earlier, in 2024, we permitted 37 stands. I believe there was 35 for the 4th of July and 2 for the New Year's time. We spent 219 personnel hours to get all the paperwork process. We got it done, but it was a lot of hours. And then that's within that 8-week period. So that really small time frame kind of condenses the amount of time we have to spend on those permits, and we do have to put people on the back burner that we're waiting for building permits, garage, with anything. We touch every permit coming through, so we have to put those on the back burner a bit. If we can expand this application window and have 2, that gives us and my staff much more time to process the incoming paperwork. If they're missing anything, it gives us time to get back to them. It's just going to help the flow, I think, quite a bit more. We've made some improvements the best we can. we added the risk management has to review all the certificates of insurance. So we've added them into our PALS permitting system. So now they can review the documents and talk to my permit team without emails going back and forth and, responses. It's a lot faster. And then for inspections, we used to put together thick packets for every stand. So what we did is we repurposed a few iPads we had back from COVID, and we put electronic forms on there, so it's check, 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 out, and we're off to the next one. It should speed up that process. So that's that part of it. The other part was the red flag warning, I think, which we spoke to quite a bit. But it really is going to give us science-based, unbiased stuff to work with. So if I have to meet with or with Executive Mello, we can have a very clear and concise talk about where and if we have to, where we have to, say you can't discharge this year. Happy to answer any questions. I think that's it on slides.
Thank you very much. We have a question or comment from committee member or Council Member Denson.
I just have two questions, Fire Marshal Rice. And first, let me say that Fire Marshal Rice testified on our behalf for a child care bill and did a fantastic job today. So thank you so much for that. Did you say that there was only 2 permitted stands for New Year's in the whole county?
Yeah, we had 35 for 4th of July and 2 for New Year's.
I found that surprising. I would think there would have been more. And then something that was covered in study session that was new information for me is that there is a formula to determine how many stands can exist in Pierce County, right? And I think it's like 57 total. So I just thought that was interesting information, right?
I believe it's 1 per every 7,000 of population.
Okay, I just thought that was fascinating. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. Councilmember Denson, do you still have something or did I? Okay. Councilmember Ayala.
Thank you, Chair. I'm curious if you know off the top of your head what the distribution of the 35 stands are across the county and then the 2 stands for New Year's.
Do you mean geographically?
Geographically.
I don't. They're spread out.
Okay. Thank you.
But you only permit ones in unincorporated Pierce County, or do you do stands?
Just unincorporated Pierce County.
Thank you. Vice Chair Herrera.
I'm just curious on the process. How are we going to let the stands know that, hey, we got to cease? How do we let people know that we're in the red flag warning or the other warning?
We would get with the communications department of the county, and then we have a PIO at emergency management. So it would be really a lot of social media blitzing to let everybody know that, unfortunately we're not going to be able to discharge because of this criteria. That's what I think is probably just get it as much social, anywhere we can reach the constituents that are going to, want to discharge fireworks.
Do we know when the last time we had a ban or because of a fire hazard? Has that happened in recent?
Not to my knowledge.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Chair.
Ms. Kelly, do you have any thoughts on Vice Chair Pereira's question?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. I'm remembering back to working on this legislation, and one of the issues was this whole measuring of fuel. And while we had what were burn bans countywide, there was not consensus on where to go and who measured and what qualified. So one of the things that we did, because there was actually 2 things that you had to do, it was the fuel and there was a second thing. We took the one out because it was even more confusing than fuel, and just gave the one option. And our former vice chair is nodding his head because he was here as we walked through this, because I chose fireworks as one of those first large pieces of legislation to take on as a new council member, which who knows why. Okay, so Fire Marshal Rice, thank you very much for being here and your work down in Olympia today. We do have this item as amended before us, and we need to hold on that. So we will start, and I'm going to invite members of the public to provide comments on the amended O 2024-573S. Please state your name if you'd like it on the record. We'll start in chambers.
Hi, Council. My name is Randy Curley. I'm the area manager for TNT Fireworks. And after speaking with Marshal Ken Rice and just kind of hashing out what was the whole thing, from an industry, from the nation's largest retail fireworks distributor, we're 100% behind this, and I appreciate you bringing it forward. This will bring safety to fireworks, but it'll also streamline, because right now, as an industry, as he was saying, as the fire marshal was saying, all permits need to be in by May 10th for the whole year. And from our perspective, it's just too hard to get everything in. So that's why you only have 2 permits during the New Year's, is because we couldn't get everything the way that the ordinance is written, groups to run in July, but they can't run in December because of the way the ordinance is. With the change, adding 2 seasons, they'll be able to run in both. So we can it'll streamline their process, because the permit will already be a part of, and they don't have to work as hard to get the permitting process done. For reference, I know that the fire marshal can only charge $100 per permit, but I would suggest to make more money, to charge a fee for the inspection, because that's not part of the permitting process. That can be an extra fee that you can generate some funding. I know that we would bear the brunt of that, but it would also help partner with you guys to make more money, to kind of put a little more skin in the game on that side. We are 100% behind the decisions, and we just look forward. I mean, Pierce County for me is my largest territory that I personally am overseer of, and so we want to work hard, and we work with the permitting process to make it as streamlined as possible, and I believe from an industry this will do that. So I approve it, and please also accept it and approve it. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. There's no one else that's a member of the public in chambers, so we will go online.
For any member of the public that would like to provide comment on proposal number O 2020.
Oh, sorry, that was me.
Excuse me. Anyone who would like to provide comment on proposal number O 2024-573S, please press the raise hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your telephone keypad. There are no hands at this time, Madam Chair.
Seeing no hands raised, that we will bring this back we'll close public comment, bring this back before the council. Councilmember Krueger.
Thank you, Chair. And I want to thank everyone for their work on this. There was a lot going on for an administrative fix. This is another ordinance that came because of a constituent who is in the business and has been for many, many years. And it started with, she went to apply for both seasons and was told, oh, we're not doing that right now. You need to wait until like October. And in September, she went to apply and was told, oh, no, you can't. And so it kind of started from there. And then we got to the streamlining, and I believe we're saving, what, $20,000-$30,000 in wages by not having all of this duplicity in the work part of it and going back and forth. And I'll say before is that everyone had the opportunity to apply for New Year's. I don't know that there's that much anyway, so I don't know how much of a difference there might be on that. It's just that it was one person can apply for either or, but it could be a husband applies for the 4th of July and the wife could apply for Christmas or New Year's time. So I don't know that there'll be all that much difference in that, but the main thing was being able to streamline and being able to not have to stop on the permit work for the building part, because I know that is very frustrating, and I am just grateful that we had this to bring forward and make things better. So thank you. Thank you, Chair. I appreciate support on this.
Thank you for those comments. Vice Chair Herrera.
Just comment, again, it's all about the permitting, and what permits do is make sure everything's in line. It's all about safety. And streamlining it. I'm sure we hear a lot from our builders about permits and the process of it. And here we are streamlining permits just in this small little area here. So it's a good example of, it's all about safety, so it's good. So thank you, Lisa.
Thank you for your comments. I just want to mention, thank you, Councilmember Krueger, for your work on this. I know this is something that came up early last year or maybe even the year before. And we just continue to kind of make the system work a little bit better. I would be very interested if we could gather some data around the number of sales that go up to right at 8 o'clock and then compare that to when it's dark in July or June, just to see what sales are like and see if we want to reconsider that. And it's just one of those things where I'm always hesitant to create unsafe conditions, especially when you're already selling something that can be unsafe. But when used appropriately and safely and under adult supervision can be perfectly safe. Before us as is O 2024-573S as amended. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Herrera.
Aye.
Councilmember Yombe.
Aye.
Councilmember Krueger.
Aye.
Councilmember Denson.
Aye.
Councilmember Ayala.
Aye.
Councilmember Hitchin.
Aye.
The result of the roll call vote is 6 ayes and 0 nays.
Wonderful. With 6 ayes and 0 nays, this motion is adopted. Okay. That brings us to section 10, which is our community forum. Community forum is an opportunity for members of the public to address the council on a topic of significance to or affecting Pierce County government that did not appear on the agenda this afternoon for final action. There is a 3-minute limit, and we'd like to ask that you please state your name if you'd like it on the record. We will ask that all comments are addressed to the chair, and we are going to start first in chambers to see if anyone has additional comments for the council during. Seeing none, we will go to Zoom.
For any member of the public that would like to participate in community forum, please press the raise hand icon in Zoom or *9 on your telephone keypad. And we have one hand at this time. The name I see on my screen is Public Observer. So please state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, council members and chair. My name is Heather Benedict. I stand before you as a concerned citizen regarding a fundamental flaw in Pierce County's charter. Yesterday, I submitted a resolution to you all proposing a charter amendment to bring Pierce County into full compliance with the Washington state law. Article 11, Section 5 of Washington state's Constitution clearly mandates that county clerks be elected by the people. Yet under the current Pierce County charter, the clerk is appointed by the executive rather than chosen by voters and for an indefinite period. This is not a matter of personal fault. It's a structural issue that undermines the constitutional principles of accountability and transparency. As an elected county clerk, it is essential for ensuring that the court records, legal filings, and due process remain accountable to the public and are not influenced by the judicial or the executive branch. By allowing an appointment, the current system forces the clerk to answer only to the executive, effectively removing public oversight and eroding the trust in government. This flaw in the county's charter must be corrected. I respectfully ask that you review the resolution I proposed and submitted and consider sponsoring it so that we all can amend the charter accordingly and be compliant with the Constitution. Please let me know if you're willing to sponsor this resolution. You have my email, or if you would like additional details, and I look forward to your response. Thank you for your time and attention and your service to the public.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to speak?
There are no more hands this time, Madam Chair.
Okay. Seeing no hands up and no one wishing to speak on community forum, we will bring it back to the council and move on to section 11, which is other business. or announcements. Are there any announcements or other business that my colleagues would like to bring up? I have one item. So last week, several of you, I'm aware of, participated in the point in time count. I know I just want to first start with a thanks to our human services staff that organized, pulled volunteers together, coordinated the trainings, and just made the magic happen so we could do this really important work on behalf of our county so that we are both compliant with the federal level, but just also for the data that we need around this work. And to my colleagues that went out and volunteered, thank you for your time. I believe most of us did at least a portion. I heard Councilmember Cruver went out to the hinterlands. Okay. So in the daytime. Okay. And then several of us were out in other parts of the county during the day and in the evening. So just appreciate and thank you to all the volunteer organizations that showed up to help and our paid professional unhoused neighbor work staff, the people that do that case management and supportive services from a variety of organizations across the county. We appreciate you and your work. Is there any other business before the council this afternoon? Seeing none, thank you, everybody. We are adjourned.